Day 125. You don't know how strong you are until it's the only option. Again, you don't know how strong you are until it's the only option. I've referenced it in the past, but there's this mindset called the comfort crisis, where we live in a home to car to work to car to home world, where we're comfortable, the temperature is always 72 degrees, we don't have to sweat if we don't want to, we don't have to make ourselves anxious or feel uncomfortable relatively to get through the day, which can keep you safe, but it can actually start to ruin you over time. Because what happens is any ounce of discomfort or anything that can throw your life off of its very normal track can all of a sudden start to feel like the end of the world and fester inside of you, when in reality maybe said thing, said discomfort, said situation isn't actually that devastating. I don't know if you've ever met someone that's maybe suffering this, but something as simple as like getting cut off in traffic can absolutely derail their day, their mentality, the way that they treat others. And then you've got someone that has maybe faced a season or seasons of just immense adversity. And you see that person, maybe they've been struggling with their health or had multiple losses in their family or whatever the case is. And we always say the same thing when we see someone like that just is keeping a positive attitude and they just keep holding it down. We say, man, I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know how they're staying so strong. Those people, whether they like it or not, have got some perspective. They're maybe in a battle for their life or getting over some major heartbreak. And they don't have another option other than to wake up and just be strong and sustain. And I'm not saying they're perfect and the people that are living in a comfort crisis are awful. I'm not saying that. But it's all about perspective. And if we can just take inventory and look inward in our lives, it's like, where are we at? When the unchosen suffering that I always talk about, because we can choose suffering, we can go do hard things and sweat and go to the gym and all of this stuff, but the unchosen suffering is the stuff that hits you out of nowhere, blindsides you, beats you down. And that stuff's tough, man. But when the unchosen suffering hits, are you accepting that and leaning on God? And is that going to sustain us, to make us strong? And when I was in darker seasons of my life, I was injured, struggling mentally, couldn't move, had a lot of anxiety festering. I remember that comfort crisis because I couldn't do hard things on my own. I couldn't exercise. I couldn't get my mind right. And by the end of the work day, because I would stay up too late, I would go to work tired, and I would be exhausted from all the people interaction that I do deal with. And then by the end of the day, I would come home and I would be mentally and physically exhausted because my body was out of shape. And I remember, if I allowed myself to sit on the couch, it took everything I had in me, and I'm not exaggerating, it took everything to just get back up off the couch in the evening to do your nightly routine of shower, brush your teeth, get ready for the next day with packing a lunchbox and getting your clothes laid out. Like, it felt exhausting to just get ready for the next day. And I would do it reluctantly, but I didn't feel like it. And if that's like the toughest thing that you're doing daily, I can understand how I was in that mindset. But if you're doing a lot of other hard things, like learning how to publicly speak, or strengthening relationships with people that maybe you've ignored in the past, or again, exercising and fueling your body well with good food, learning a new skill and just pursuing it with all you've got. Maybe you're learning to play the guitar. When you're just pursuing hard things and doing things that make you uncomfortable, you're going to get stronger. And some people, when they're so down and out, like I was listening to this psychologist once, but here he was like, man, if you are just paralyzed by the stresses of life and you are depressed, he said, and maybe because some people get so depressed they can't even leave their house, maybe they can't even leave their room. He said, clean your room. Do one thing today. Do something to make progress, to start to flicker or flip that switch in your mind. And it's going to be a long process, probably, I think he said, but maybe start by just sweeping the floor in your room. And bit by bit, it starts with cleaning your room. Maybe the next day it's cleaning the kitchen. Maybe the next day it's doing 20 push-ups. But if you could just start to roll that snowball of positive momentum in your life, it can eventually lead to some bigger changes and things that your last week's self wouldn't even imagine doing, or the last year's self. When you can keep going down that road of making that positive momentum, you can start to really get back to your old self and achieve positive things. But he said, the psychologist was saying, like, he literally has patients that say, like, hey, I can't even get to the point of cleaning my room. Like, he said, literally people will get the vacuum out and he'll have them come back the next week and they're like, man, I got the vacuum out and it's in my room still, but I haven't gotten to the point of actually getting the work done. Like, these people are paralyzed by their depression and their fear and their anxiety. Do something. Tomorrow's you and next year's you will thank you for it. Again, I always talk about health and fitness in these videos, and one thing that I will say is, like, I know because we get distracted and stressed out by our day. We've got a million deadlines, we've got emails, we got our kids' events and things that we've got going on, and a lot of people tell me the same things, like, man, I don't even know where I would fit it in, and I'm too tired to even get the work done when it comes to taking care of my body. And I would just challenge you, because again, you don't know how strong you are until it's the only option. Sign a contract with yourself. Stop negotiating. Negotiate the price in advance to say, hey, I am going tomorrow. Do. And if it's in the morning, say you're going to do it today, because don't keep pushing it out. But as soon as you can, give yourself a deadline to say, each day I'm going to do 100 push-ups. Or maybe you start with 50, but give yourself a number and get the work done. Even if you can't do it all at once, get the work done. If you're feeling really ambitious, say, hey, like every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday this week and this month, I'm going to do 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups. If you got to do 10 at a time each, whatever it is, get it done, because you're going to start keeping promises when you execute those things. And if you make promises and you execute them, I always say it, but it's going to change the way you perceive yourself. It's going to make yourself a better friend to yourself. It's going to give you more self-confidence. It's going to get you out of the rut that you might be in. So if we can stop negotiating with ourselves and really sign that contract and get the work done, I think that kind of relates back to the quote, is like, you will start to become strong because you stopped giving yourself a way out. You really burnt the ships. You're done sailing back into comfort. You're going to meet the deadline and you're going to rise. You're only as strong as, you don't know how strong you are until it's your only option. Remember that. So Isaiah chapter 40, verses 28 through 31, it says, do you not know, have you not heard, the Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the end of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. And my application study Bible just says, hoping in the Lord is expecting that his promise of strength will help us to rise above life's distractions and difficulties. Do you believe God loves you and wants the best for you? And can you relax confident that his purposes are right? Are you convinced that he has the power to control all of life and your life as well? Again, I want to live a life, I always say it, but where my yoke is easy and my burden is light, because I know whose I am. And if you know whose you are, you're going to have a good idea of who you are. And if you have confidence in him, Because I pray every single day, Lord, please help me to have confidence in who I am because of who you are. It's going to change the way you act. It's going to change the way that you treat people, and it's going to change the way that you come through for yourself. Be strong, even on the days you don't feel like it. Have the best week, day 125.